So
Wow,
I'm sure you
interesting.
guys have given a lot of thought to this, right? Because a kid, then you're going to have India, Pakistan identities. And even though your passport in a few years will say that you're Indian, but how
Hmm.
does the kid grow up? What is the sense of identity for the child?
I believe it's more of inculcating in your child whatever and however you want to. So my sister-in-law, her husband happens to be a Pakistani,
Oh.
and we are always having a tiff because my sister-in-law would teach her kids Jai Hind, and we would always say Dil Dil Pakistan. So now the kid is so confused that she would just come to me and she'd be like, Mommy, Mommy, Jai Hind. And then she would go to Mamu and be like, Dil Dil Pakistan. That's how kids take it, literally. So I guess we'll have to bring them up like that only, very balanced.
Hi, I'm Suveer Bajaj from Bombay, India.
And I'm Umair Qazi from Karachi, Pakistan.
We've been friends for over 15 years now, and often I dream of getting into my car and driving to go and see Umair over the weekend. Door to door, the journey is only 883 kilometers for me. Yet, it's impossible to get there.
And in this podcast, Suveer and I are going to try to take that journey digitally as we explore the similarities that Pakistanis and Indians have through the lens of content, community, and culture. We will chat with respected filmmakers, chefs, musicians, even stand up comics who may have performed across the border and even have fans here and there.
Our aim is to try and bridge the gap between our two countries through transformational dialogue with the youth of our nations. I'm sure that together we will identify several similarities. After all, we are all cut from the same cloth. And indeed, we might find a few differences, but we will celebrate them.
Anum and Rushd, welcome to the show.
Hi, Umair.
Hello, how you guys doing?
Good, very good. How are you?
I'm good too. So on the
From
call
the
as well.
other side.
Yes, from the other side. On the call with me is also my co-host Suveer Bajaj.
Hi guys, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Glad that you can be here with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so it's good to finally be able to record this with you guys. So I'm pretty curious to actually dive into your story. So a little bit of context for our listeners. So I've known of Anam for a while now. So Anam is friends with my brother-in-law, and I think the common point that we've had is that she was there at my wedding, so she knows my wife as well. But for this podcast, I reached out to her and we're trying to get in touch with other couples in a similar situation. So Anam is a Karachi girl, am I right?
Correct.
Correct. So, and Anam and Rushd are now living in Kolkata, correct?
That's right.
I do sound like an interview host, don't I?
Where did you guys meet though?
Yeah. Tell us your story.
Rush, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So we met, we were like, we're related to a family. So that's how we know each other. And we met in Dubai and we just tried, got to know each other there. We were talking on the phone before that. And we finally decided to meet and we really got along. And that's when we decided to take the next step.
So for me, initially, like my mother came to me, like out of nowhere. Yeah, she just comes up to me and she tells me, I like, someone has sent a rishta for you. Would you like to know? I was like, yeah, who is it? And then she mentions Rushd. So Rushd and I, in our childhood, we played football together and cricket because whenever he would come to Karachi, he would come and stay with us because he's our distant relative. And when she came and she told me that, what do you think of Rushd? It just came out of a surprise. And I was like, Mom, where is this coming from? Like, we played together, but we never thought of each other like that. Then I think Rushd and I started talking, and we decided that it is great if we can meet in a common place, like Dubai being the easiest mode of meeting. That's where we met. We spent 1 week together, and then we decided to move forward with it. That's how our story started.
So you guys have an arranged marriage, if I understand correctly?
Correct.
And I'm guessing that you guys were introduced by a Seema auntie.
By
Seema auntie.
Yeah.
Of course. Again,
nice, she's going global.
These aunties are always available in both the parts of the world. Let's put it that way.
Nice. How are your families related though? What's the connection?
He happens to be my cousin's son.
Oh, different generation.
Yeah.
Generation is different.
So you're
Wow.
technically his auntie generation.
Oh my God, you really had to bring that up, didn't
Whoa.
you? Like, okay.
That must lead to
Anyways,
a
yeah.
variety of different fun pet names, right?
Well, yeah, but I'm young, so it's okay.
It's okay, hota hai yaar. Happens on my
Cool
side as
auntie.
well. Cool,
Hmm.
auntie. Rushd, how many times have you been to Pakistan or to Karachi?
Quite a few times, to be honest. Like when I was young, so my grandparents lived there. Like my mom's parents lived there because
Yeah.
my mom's also from there. So 5, 6 times at least.
Wow,
Hmm.
cool. Interesting. You're in a very special place. Not a lot of people can claim to have, visited the other side that often.
Yeah,
I've
that's true.
so in Suveer, and in the case of Suveer and I, so the context is Suveer's been to Lahore once, I've been to Bombay once, and that's it. I'd love to go back,
But
but there's no such scene anyway. So how
yeah,
has your experience been? So did you? I mean, when was the first time you came here? Were you very young? Do you remember?
I was quite young when I first came. I kind of remember it. Like I remember, just playing a lot of cricket with all my neighbors, and I think cricket really like brought us together in a way. So it was all
Interesting.
cricket. It was just like playing cricket and playing football and just having fun.
Wow, cool. So was there like like a sense of identity, or did someone? How did people react to you even in the early days? I'm not sure how much you remember, but in the first couple of times that you came here, was it some? Did it seem something alien, or this part of just growing up?
It was part of growing up. It didn't seem alien at all. Like I always thought like the hospitality and all, like from the beginning, every time I've been to Pakistan, they just, whenever I tell them I'm from India,
Yeah.
and I hope it's still the same. I haven't been for the last 3, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always like I was treated like a guest, like people went out of the way to make me more comfortable. I've been for haircuts where people have told me you don't have to pay because you're from India. Like
Whoa.
stuff like that. And it was really surprising. I was like really well taken care of, which I didn't expect. But
Yeah, I
hopefully it's
think
the
everyone
same
says the
now.
same thing, right? I think everyone who manages to go across the border says pretty much the same thing in terms of the hospitality and in terms of how well we're kind of welcomed by our neighbors from the other side. And I think it's a very comforting feeling in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Anam, did you come to this side of the border as well prior to getting married as well?
No, this was like after I got married, this was my first time. So for me, it was completely new.
Oh, that's interesting. So, what did you expect when you came here?
I honestly speaking, like when I was getting married, I got a bunch of different reviews from people before I even made a decision. When I spoke to my friends, they were like, "Are you sure you want to do it?" One of like my brother-in-law also, one of my brother-in-laws, he was like, "Have you thought about it really? Because this is India you're talking about." And I literally moved on with a very positive mind frame that we're like, since we share borders, how different can it be culturally? Like keeping everything aside, for me it was like, if you move on with a positive mindset, how different can it be? And honestly, when I came here, I got so much warmth and so much hospitality, and Calcutta itself is known for its hospitality. So I was taken
Mm-hmm.
very well cared. Like as soon as I came, all of my mother-in-law's friends, they threw parties for us. And when I met them, it didn't feel like that they're different. It felt like family again, that I've come to a place where there is family, So for me, it was a great experience when I came here. Everything was just amazing.
That's nice. You said your friends, made you rethink this as well. What were like the 2 or 3 large red flags that popped up in conversation prior to you guys agreeing to, take this forward? And from both sides of the, from the fence, what were the 2 or 3 large red flags that, threw caution into the wind?
So to be honest, like it was more towards like the people who actually came and questioned me about it were very patriotic people. So when they came to me, they were like, "Are you sure people are going to accept you in India?" And having said that, like because I was speaking to Rushd and he would tell me stories about how excited his friends are that I will be coming from Pakistan, they were super excited about it. So I would always tell them that people are looking forward to meeting me. Like it's it's different. Like it's not like how we see it in the media. Maybe it's very different to that, because we people think that India and Pakistan are very different and we're very far away, yet we are so close because so many of my friends who went abroad to study as well, they they told me, in fact, my niece, she told me that Anam, my best friends in uni were Indians. And this was literally instant. Like as soon as I met them, we got along so well that there is no difference. It's just that we have this confusion in between. That's what divides us.
Yeah, that's so true. Rushd, what about for you? What were the few red flags that your next of kin spoke to you about and warned you about?
Actually, nothing. Like nothing really. So I mean, to be fair, my mom's also from Pakistan, and she's been living in India for a long time. So I mean, now she's an Indian national. I didn't have any red flags because my mom was, really comfortable here. She made good friends, and the Pakistan issue never came up for her. So I never felt that it would be something that wouldn't work out or something. There are certain travel problems and certain restrictions and so on, which gets problematic. But I guess you get used to it and deal with it as it comes.
I think, yeah, we'll come back to the point about your mum because that's a very interesting, addition to the story. You guys mentioned that you all met in Dubai for the first time. Am I right?
Not for the first time,
Not for
but
the first time.
yeah,
When we
met in
started
Dubai.
taking this journey,
For the
Yeah.
first
that
Rishta
was the
meeting.
first for the
Right, yeah.
absolutely. Let's put it that way.
And then what about after that? Like I would imagine in the courting period, couples usually meet quite a few times and refamiliarize themselves, or rather familiarize themselves with each other. How did you guys manage to make that work? Was it in Dubai every time, or did you guys not meet after that at all?
We didn't meet after that. In fact, we met
But
in Dubai for about a week, and then
we
we just
decided to
kept
get
in touch.
nikah.
Yeah.
We decided to get like an engagement ceremony done in Karachi. So they all decided to come to Karachi for the engagement. That's when we met the second time. And then Rushi, I believe we met once more in Dubai again.
Yeah, we met in
When
Dubai
I
once.
surprised, so I surprised him. I told him like I can't make it because I have work and I can't miss work. And I surprised him, and he was so surprised. So
Yeah.
that was the second time we met. So we've met in Dubai only, and otherwise for the engagement party, he came to Karachi.
How sweet!
Then
What a
we
nice
got married
surprise.
after a year.
So
Yeah.
there's no nosy, unwanted sort of dur ke uncle, mamu, chachu who says, "Huh? ये क्या कर रहे हो तुम लोग?" Nothing like that.
Oh.
There's always, मतलब वो
No.
आम शादियों में भी होते हैं यार. तुम लोग की शादी में नहीं थे. How can
Uh,
that be?
Cool family, hai na? They didn't really.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Rushd, you mentioned that your
Yeah.
mom is now an Indian national. How did that happen? Like after marriage, how did she change her nationality to Indian? What's the process there? I'm sure there must be some very clear language for this.
so this was obviously back, I guess, in the 70s or 80s, roughly then, when she must have become a national. When I think things were a lot more chilled out between the two countries. So there wasn't, it was doable. It's the same for Anam. I mean, it takes like 7 years, and then you apply, and
But
that's the system.
for me, it's 7 years now. For her, it was literally 2 years. She got her
Yeah,
nationality in 2 years. Whereas for me, I have a lot more restrictions. I get my nationality in after 7 years. Like first I have to stay in India for 7 years, and then they're going to decide if they'll give me nationality or not. Though it looks very smooth. Otherwise, I have a lot of travel restrictions as well. Like I cannot move freely move in India. So I have to take permission to travel to say Bombay or Delhi, and I'm allowed thrice in a year. Then I can't do international travel more than once. So there are restrictions, but I would also say that I'm quite grateful that at least I'm getting to go and visit my parents whenever I want, and they give me the permission. They don't cause any problems, especially in Calcutta, I would say.
Oh, that's really interesting, actually. But fundamentally, do you want to take Indian citizenship?
So ideally, like if I'm staying in India, right, it makes a lot more sense to take the Indian passport because it's much easier for me to move around freely. And दिल में तो पाकिस्तान है ही ना, तो फिर passport में India कोई बात नहीं.
Interesting. So, how do you navigate? I mean, COVID times aside, so only one international trip per year. You can only go to what, 3 cities in a whole year? Did I hear you right?
Yeah, that's correct. So I can go to Pakistan once in a year, and I
Yeah.
can do one international country. So say I did Europe this last year and I went to Pakistan, that's about it. And there is a restriction of 3 months. So I can be out of the country for 3 months, not more than that.
In totality,
Interesting.
3 months. Okay, that's interesting. And how
Right.
does it play with like banking and stuff like that? Does it make a difference for you to be opening bank accounts, transferring money in and out of the country? Do they scrutinize that more aggressively?
I
Uh,
still don't have a.
yeah, yeah. I think that side, it's hard to get all that done. So you're kind of living on a long-term visa. It's almost like you're a tourist in some ways, where you don't have access to a lot of things which a normal citizen would have in India. And of course, being Pakistani, there's an additional layer of hurdles which you have to cross to get these things done. Uh, so that side, that bit is kind of hard, where
Oh.
it's not that straightforward, where you can just get everything sorted out, bank accounts, and like an Aadhaar card which you require for so many things.
Hmm.
Getting all that done is quite hard.
Oh, that must be quite a pain, right? How do you work here then?
Um, so Anam was helping me out with my business, which has been really handy, and we're kind of chilled out towards Pakistani nationals at our company, which helps.
He had to, he didn't have a choice.
That's true. That's interesting. How
Yes,
long have you
so
guys been
work
married?
permit,
Sorry.
saying that the work permit, I don't get the work permit like that with my long-term visa. So it's very difficult to take up a job. Whereas there are different fine prints as well that you can, if you want to do some business, a small business or something, then you can go to the foreign registration office, enroll it over there, take some permission, then they allow it.
Hmm. Okay,
But the
that's interesting.
job bit you can't do. It's
That's
quite
interesting.
similar to the other countries though, like how you have to wait for the job permit.
Hmm. Okay, that's
Hmm.
interesting. Umair was telling me that when he was in India, he felt that there was this black unmarked sedan that was following him everywhere around, no number plate and tinted windows. And he was wondering what's going on. And maybe someone's keeping an eye on him because he's from Pakistan, he's from the other side of the border. Of course, this is Umair getting paranoid and
Of course, I have
and
a very
stressing
vivid
out too much.
imagination.
But I'm sure you've had some funny experiences as well, right? What's been your funniest experience on this side of the border? And Rushd, for you as well, right? Because you mentioned you've been there 5 times to Karachi as well. What have been your funniest experiences as a couple and individually when you visited each other's, now when you stay actually on the side of the border?
Anand, you want to go first?
Go on. I'm still
For
thinking.
me, I was wondering funny things.
It wasn't funny though, but it came out as a shock to us when we went to Jaipur. Remember, Rishi?
Yeah. So in terms of like the paranoia behind people following you around and stuff, we've heard a lot about this. My parents have told me, it might have happened to them. We've never really paid close enough attention to see if someone's following us. I mean, the way we look at it is we're not doing anything wrong. So like at least the way I look at it is like if someone's gonna follow me and I'm not even gonna like find out, go ahead. Uh, they're probably going to get like if someone's tapping our phones and stuff like that, they have a lot of boring conversations they have to listen to, I guess. So that's the way I see it, at least. Like, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. When we went to Jaipur, as Anam was saying, we were at the foreign registration office, and there was this guy. He just walked in, and one of the officers was telling him that you can't wear the same clothes, otherwise you get noticed and stuff like that. Change your helmet, do things like that. So I'm guessing they do follow you.
I believe these are
Uh,
all for security purposes because one of our friends, in fact, he had gone to Lahore and Karachi. Rishi, I'm talking about Avantika's
yeah,
brother. So
yeah.
he went to Pakistan. Recently, I mean, like maybe 6 months ago, he went to Pakistan and he also kind of experienced the same thing because these are the protocols which I believe the country has to take, irrespective of who you are.
Hmm.
So I guess like we kind of accept it that it is all right. If you are fine
Yeah.
and you're on the right, correct path, then you don't have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it doesn't bug us so much now.
Fair. But any
Yeah, and
peculiar
this
experiences that you've had as well, Anum?
I don't think of anything that way.
that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
And besides, in this
It
day and
was
age,
pretty.
having followers is actually a good thing, guys. It was different. Yeah, come on.
Umair, you need to get off
Special, right?
Instagram.
Yeah.
No, so I'm curious. So, Anam, if you could, and this is something, sorry, I'm just taking the conversation in a different direction. It's been a while since you last went to Karachi, right? So,
Last year I went.
last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you and Rich could drive over right now, where would you take him? What do you miss?
In Karachi,
Yeah.
I would take him for rolls. Dude, how
I
much I
knew
miss
it.
those rolls.
I
Oh my
knew
God. Like,
it.
because the rolls over here are very different compared to the rolls over there. Then we would go to Nihari Inn, of course. That's
Yeah.
Rishi's favorite too. So we have to go to Nihari Inn. That's like a no-brainer. And of
Yeah.
course, I miss the beach like a lot
Ah.
because we don't have beach over here in
Hmm.
Calcutta,
You
West
can come to
Bengal.
Bombay for that.
She can't
So
come
yeah,
to
then I'll
any
have
other
to take
cities. She
it.
only has to travel to 3 cities, man. Come on.
Make Bombay one
I,
of them, man.
I really want to because Bombay apparently. So my cousin lives in Bombay. She also got married, and she's a Karachiite as well. So she got married 6 months before I got married, and she's in Bombay. So she tells me that Bombay is so similar to Karachi culturally, everything, that she's having a blast in Bombay. So I have to visit Bombay for sure.
Oh, it's a
Must
wonderful city.
Must do.
I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Yeah, it's a scaled up version of Karachi, but same but different, right?
Similar, yeah. That she was telling me that like adjusting in Bombay was not very hard for me. Like for me, Calcutta was just amazing because the Karachi people are slightly different. Like you can relate it better in Bombay as opposed to Bengal because Bengal people are like super warm. Their pace of life is slow, whereas Karachi is a very fast-paced city. So for me, adjusting in those terms was slightly difficult because for me it was like abhi karna hai to karna hai, like it has to be done. But for a Calcuttan or a Bong, it's going to be like theek hai, ho jayega. Don't worry.
That's why you have. That's why you have tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, so this is
Well,
interesting. This is interesting. So you said, for example, if Rushd was here somewhere in my surrounding here in Karachi, and I didn't know that he wasn't from Karachi, would I be able to pick him apart or tell कि ये यहाँ का नहीं है?
I think you would.
Really?
I think you would.
And do you think people can tell you apart when you go out, like that? She's not from around
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So a lot of people so I joined a couple of clubs in the city as well to
Hmm.
make friends and to get to know the city better. So they would say that you do stand out. Like, theek hai, you're amongst us only, but we can tell that you're from somewhere else. That difference is there, I would say, Umair.
Okay, cool.
Guys,
You-
big question. Kids or no kids?
So our new one is coming
Yeah, one on the way, like in a month.
in a month.
Oh, no way. Congratulations.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
You said your new one. Does that mean that you have an old one as well?
No, as in like new is like one new.
Wow,
So I'm sure you
interesting.
guys have given a lot of thought to this, right? Because a kid, then you're going to have India, Pakistan identities. And even though your passport in a few years will say that you're Indian, Anam, but how does the kid grow up? What is the sense of identity for the child?
I believe it's more of inculcating in your child whatever and however you want to. So my sister-in-law, her husband happens to be a Pakistani, and we are always having a tiff because my sister-in-law would teach her kids Jai Hind, and we would always say Dil Dil Pakistan. So now the kid is so confused that she would just come to me and she'd be like, Mommy, Jai Hind. And then she would go to Mamu and be like, Dil Dil Pakistan. That's how kids take it, literally. So I guess we'll have to bring them up like that only, very balanced.
Rushd,
And I think they have a blueprint because Rushd's mom went through the same sort of thing, right? So I think you guys have planned about this, right?
Planned about in what way?
No, I mean you kind of know. You're not going to be caught off guard. So you have something to look back on. You've had other examples in your family to be able to instill a sense of identity in the child that satisfies both the mother and the father.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, I'm still kind of I still kind of believe that most, like, every border is man-made.
True
There's
that,
more
man.
important things than, like, I mean, there's national pride and all, which if you're born in this country, I think that happens automatically. But
Yeah,
other
it'd be
than
so
that,
hard. Sorry, go on.
yeah,
For me to
yeah, but
convince our kid to not support India and support Pakistan during a cricket match,
Oh,
that's going to be a stumbling block.
oh. So what happens now? Are you guys cricket heads?
India, Pakistan's a big deal for sure.
Yes,
So what
that's how
happens?
it's for us.
What happens? Well, like take me through it, man.
Anam is very outnumbered.
Oh, yeah. Not very easy for me because last time when Pakistan India was playing, we went to our friend's house and I was literally outnumbered and there was nothing I could do but to play
Yeah.
very politically. And I did well. It worked for me.
So, Rush, does that mean that every time India wins, you're sleeping on the couch outside?
No, well, luckily no. Luckily no. That wouldn't be good right now considering the form. But
Yeah, absolutely. I have nothing to say for now.
Fair enough. So, guys, you're obviously very close to your respective nations, and of course, cognizant of the several political and ideological differences that we have between the two countries. Just before we sign off, how do you well wish for the other nation? What are your wishes for the nation, and what are your wishes for the countries to find peace between themselves? And I'm sure you guys have a much better insight into this since it's at the core of your philosophy as human beings, and you guys are now building a family together going forward.
I think the politics will always be politics, and I kind of get the political side of things. It's just a really good issue to get support and so on from both sides. So I don't think you can change the politics, but most of my friends in university were Pakistani. They were really good friends of mine. We're still in touch with each other. So obviously, I want the best for my friends. If their country does well, it's great for them. It's good for business. Uh, I think to a personal extent, in general, I think everyone wants the best for everyone. It's just the politics will always be there, but I'm guessing and I'm hoping most people, just stay away from the political side of things and just see it as, because, Indians and Pakistanis just make good friends. I mean, everyone who goes abroad has Pakistani friends and Indian friends, and there's no issues there. And I think when you come back home, the politics takes over. As long as you can get through that, feel through that political aspect of it, I think there's no problem. I think we both wish, best for each other.
That's
Nice.
true.
Yeah, and
Anam?
it's very important. It is very, very important in order to avoid the cultural conflict. One has to start avoiding the stereotypes. I would like to share my experience because when I came over here and I met a couple of people like my friends over here now, they would be surprised and they would ask me that how is your what is your traditional dress and how do you guys move around in Karachi? And when I would show them pictures of us, how Karachi people have like great parties and we have like amazing house parties for that matter, and we're very like open people, right? It's not so they have a concept that every single person in Pakistan would be covered from top to bottom in a very different manner. Like their idea of traditional dressing about us is so different that I was shocked to hear from the educated lot as well. And they literally, like, one of this girl, she just asked me, she's like, were you even allowed to wear uh jeans and shirt in Karachi? And it came to me as a big shock because I was like, it's a very open city again. Like everyone has the freedom to do however and whatever they want to do. And this is what needs to be raised. Like our voices need to be raised in these countries to tell people like these who have no idea about Pakistan because they don't know how we are and how do we live, what is our cultural background. So I would literally advise them that it's in order to really come close together, it is important to avoid the stereotyping and get to know people, because now there's so many forums also where you can read. And I'm so glad that you guys are doing this podcast because it's really important for both the countries to know that how similar we are, like in a lot of things.
No, absolutely, Anam. You've hit the nail on the head, and that's exactly why we're doing this podcast, and we're so glad that you could join us and share your journey, Rushd and Anam. Thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations for the young one on the way. We do hope that he or she does cheer for India.
Hey, I'm still on the call, okay? Hello,
And
Anam?
so am I,
Isko
so
seedha
am I,
karte
so
hai
am I. Bilkul, bilkul.
No, it's
We
great
shall
having you
see.
guys. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having
Thanks for
us.
having
All
us.
right,
Thank you,
have a nice
guys. Have a
evening.
lovely
Bye-bye.
weekend.
If you enjoyed this podcast, there is no better way to support us than to spread our message to like minded folks. Follow us on our socials. We're most active on Instagram, but you can find us posting on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, and all the other usual suspects. Just search for 883 to Infinity. And if you're feeling really generous, maybe put up a story about us and talk about how awesome we are. The usual.
Also, if you have an idea for us to explore or know of someone that would be a great guest on 883, just drop us a message on Insta. We want this to be as interactive as possible and would love to feature and possibly dissect your thoughts on India, Pakistan, the bonds that join us, and the gaps that separate us. This podcast was produced by Janvi Shetty, edited by Bijal Kakkar and Abbas Mahableshwarwala. Our social content is powered by Apurva, Arshi, and Purva from Team Mammoth.
Support the 883 art project led by Akash and Ahmed.
All views and opinions expressed in this podcast are not meant to offend or hurt the sentiments of, including, but not limited to, any person, dead or alive, religion or ethnic group, community or country. The primary purpose of this podcast is to build a cultural bridge and shed light on the similarities that we share with our friends from across the border.